Hi everyone, Dean here from Enroll My, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to another Breakfast Club podcast. As many of you know, I'm always talking with people from the UK, Ireland, and the world who've had an incredible impact on the lives of children, young people, and families. I'm keen to understand what drives them and the journey that they have traveled to become the people they are today. In this episode, I sit down with Amy to explore her incredible journey into music education and the founding of the Strings Club. Amy shares how music has a transformative impact on children and how her passion led to the growth of this inspiring organisation. We also discuss the challenges and rewards of learning and development in business, finding and retaining great staff, and the role of awards and networking in driving business growth. Amy gives us a glimpse into her exciting future plans for the Strings Club and the impact she hopes to make. It's a conversation filled with passion, insights, inspiration, and even a little geography. So grab your morning beverage, sit back, and enjoy this delightful conversation with Amy. Let's go. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Breakfast Club podcast. And I'm here today with Amy Cunningham. How are you this morning, Amy?
I'm feeling fantastic, thank you, and really excited for this conversation today.
Yeah, thank you. It's going to be a bit of fun, and it's just been so awesome just chatting with people all around the place and really understanding that story and that journey to where we are today. And everyone has a different journey, a different story to tell, and we can all learn from each other. And especially in this industry, we're a social industry. We work with children and we enjoy great experiences, helping them do what they need to do to continue to grow. And so we always try to make the podcast a similar experience and a fun discussion as we look at life on the way through. So, and Amy, you just told me before your surname, you had a Scottish way that you pronounced it. So from that, I'm assuming there's a little bit of Scottish in the background there somewhere.
Well, no, so Cunningham, yeah, it's Gaelic. So my grandparents,
Gaelic.
yeah, my grandparents are from Glasgow, so
Okay.
good place.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, no, I would, who was I speaking to the other day? And my background is Ireland and then Scotland. Well, prior to Ireland, it's Scandinavia, then Ireland, then Scotland, then New Zealand. So,
Ah,
so for those of you who are listening and you're trying to pick what my accent is, don't worry. Like everyone's like, oh, is it, Australia, Australia, and and it's like they kind of don't want to offend you, but they're going with Australia as the bigger option. Um,
yeah.
and and I kind of say, look, New Zealand and Australia. Australia is New Zealand's big brother, so we look up to our big brother, and it's all awesome. And then they simultaneously don't care about us at all. So it's a good big brother, little brother relationship in that one. So that's cool. So Amy, like getting obviously with the Strings Club, okay, which has been fantastic working with you guys, but also seeing the growth of it and what you've worked through that. So obviously, if we take a few steps back to where it all started, where did a passion for music start for you?
Oh, good question. Um, so I'm a violinist by trade. That's what I was. So I studied at Birmingham University, and then I did my master's in ethnomusicology at
Wow.
Goldsmiths, which was absolutely fantastic. And that's looking at music from a cultural point of view. Why do
Yep.
some cultures have certain kinds of music? And then all it was is basically I was working as a violin teacher all across London. Absolutely loved it. And in the holidays, there was never any kind of teaching work.
Yep.
I've always been quite entrepreneurial, always kind of created events and really loved that. So I put on a holiday camp in Camden. We had 6 kids came along.
Awesome.
We had a concert, and then a parent said, "When's the next one?" And it's literally, I kind of haven't looked back since then. And obviously, it's snowballed as well, which has been great. So yeah, that's how it all started. And
Started.
I think for me and you, like we both kind of have something really huge in common, which is our passion for music.
Mm.
Kind of have similar journeys. Obviously, I'm
Yep.
way behind you, of course, in terms of, but you really have inspired me about obviously with Enroll My, like how you started as well.
Mm. Yeah, and the music piece, like we've spoken before at length. Kind of the conversation can easily go in that direction. We love it. It's something unique, something really special, and the conveying of musical skill and musical appreciation and the love of music, which you would have done through the violin lessons, there is a really unique element to that, seeing a child grow in that. So when did you start learning the violin? What was what was your
Yeah.
journey there?
Well, I'm from a really small island in Wales
Yep.
called Anglesey. So it was really kind of seven kids in my year, 30 kids in the whole. It was a little school at the end of my
Oh,
garden.
oh wow.
Very right by the sea, just like
Wow.
perfect childhood in that sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I started off violin lessons at my school, and then they stopped. And so my mum and my friend's mum used to then take us to a school about half an hour away for lessons. And now as a parent myself, I really am grateful for that they kept that
Mm,
going and almost pushed me. Well, like, no, you're going to carry on. And that was great. And I think I always, as a child, I felt a certain way when I was playing the violin and in the
mm,
lessons. And I think in a way that's what I'm trying to bring. Well, I am bringing with the strings club. Like you said, it's really different from other childcare providers. To a far extent, one of the reasons why is because we're using, it sounds cliche, but music as a force for good.
mm.
To really, I want kids to have that feeling
Yeah.
when they come to us,
Yeah,
go, well,
yeah.
this guitar has made me feel really happy just playing it.
Mm,
And that for me is essentially what one of the things what we're about.
mm. And you're so right. I think there's something for a child for whom music is in their DNA.
Mm.
Um, uh, the the discovery of that, of what music does to you as a kid, like the way it makes you feel, the way you can engage with it and interpret it, and then obviously make some music, and
Mm.
uh, and then part to that next point of passing it on. There's something so unique in that. It's easily lost in today's world, but it's awesome. So you played a bit of violin at the school, looking over the sea. I mean, that just sounds. I'm just imagining like the sea washing over some cliffs, some big cliffs, and at the top of them there's a school, and there's violin ringing out across the. I don't
I
know.
don't think it sounded that great at that
Yeah,
time, but
yeah.
yeah.
We all start somewhere. I often joke with people. I say when I started learning the guitar, or I kind of played a little bit prior, but really seriously at high school. And I was at boarding school. So I often say to people, like, when I first started playing, I'd come and sit down with everyone and everyone would walk away. And then after about 6 months, I'd come and sit down with everyone, and then everyone would come and sit down as well, you know? So we always start.
Do you feel like in terms of does that really kind of the for you as well was starting Enroll My years back, was that's obviously your passion as well, wasn't that was your purpose, wasn't it? It was
Yep.
setting Enroll My.
Yeah. So prior to Roll My, Music Hub was the music school that we ran. And Roll My kind of grew out of that because we built the technology to run the music school. And then lots of people came to us. So we said, okay, well, the technology's, how do I make an impact now beyond my music school? And that's, 500,000 parents that book on a Roll My for their kids to do amazing things. And so it's the next evolution in how I can support families and children to have the things and do the things that they really want to, and encourage children into music lessons and to experience music as part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really exciting. And yeah, I love talking about music. We could talk about it for a long time, but that
Good.
visual.
We could do that a separate podcast.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah,
Like our top kind of music tips,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we're actually thinking about setting up our own podcast
Cool.
soon, just for parents, just things like, top tips on how to get your kids to practice, to play at home.
Awesome.
We get that all the time. So
Mm.
yeah, hopefully maybe I can invite you to that next podcast.
Absolutely, I'd be most happy. I've been on a wide variety of podcasts myself,
Yeah.
and it's always fun. That's for sure. Um, cool. So school and playing a bit of violin, and then obviously you moved from the island to somewhere with more people than the island.
I did. I went to Birmingham
Oh
first. And I
wow!
thought,
Yep, yep,
wow, and
yep, yep,
and then I moved to London, which I
yep.
love, and
Mm,
I absolutely love both Birmingham and London as
mm.
cities. So, but I also love going back. My family are there, and so I'm hopefully going to buy somewhere quite soon,
Oh, nice. Yeah,
just to go as a bolt hole. So I'll let you
yep.
know when that is. So when you're next in the UK, you can go and visit,
Yeah,
because it's quite
absolutely.
similar in a way to New Zealand in terms of
Mm,
it's Snowdonia, so the
yep.
mountains and
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And I think there's actually, I was talking to someone else about this morning. There's special places in the world, everywhere in the world, that are there's something magical about a large landscape, and there's something both humbling and inspiring when you stand at the top of a mountain, and
yeah, and
wherever
see the
that mountain is.
horizon.
Yeah, yeah. And there's something wonderful about the North Sea and the Atlantic and the Irish Sea and all those places. Anyway, we're waxing lyrical, more esoteric, wonderful things, which you should expect if you're listening to a podcast with a couple of musicians talking. It's going to go in funny directions on the
Yeah,
odd
well,
time
exactly.
because we'll love it. So obviously in London's when you got into teaching there. Like, so you talked about your study at university, and it sounds really interesting around I suppose the study of music and culture and things like that. What were some things that really stuck out from university that were really stuck with you?
Oh, I absolutely loved my masters. It was probably the best time of my life, really. Again, we
Mm.
talked about earlier, weren't we, about being in your 20s in London is just
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
time. But one of the things was my dissertation was looking at how people learn the Amadinda, which is a Ugandan xylophone, kind of in Uganda. So I'd already been to Uganda a few years before in my really early 20s, just went out and just on my own and loved it. And so I went back and lived there for about 2 months, where I looked at how people learn this instrument in a kind of different ways and how that then reflected society and the culture. Which sounds a bit kind of, I don't know, out there, but it was just it was a real learning curve, and taught me a lot actually. But I loved that, and I think it really inspired me as well, because Goldsmiths as well as a university is really pro kind of learning about different how to put it, different subjects. So there's one lecture a week where we'd be going to like a lecture about something completely different, and it was really great. And I think that kind of inspired me in a way. It was at the same time as I set up the Strings Club in 2012, where it was kind of part of me was like, go for it, go for this idea, this
yeah.
passion you've got, where
Mm.
else maybe other institutions might have not inspired me as such. So yeah, that's a little
Yeah.
bit of Goldsmiths.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I think the as musicians we start with our music focus and our passion to share the music, but there are many tools along the way to make that happening. And I remember I was a school teacher, same kind of situation, and then taught guitar, and then suddenly I had to learn about a whole bunch of things that weren't in my remit or in my sphere of knowledge, for you the university kind of opened your eyes to a few different things, and for me it was like, oh, a kid missed a lesson, I need a credit. How do I credit them again? Credit notes, that's what they are. And
Yeah.
so I had to go through a financial learning journey, and then a business operations learning journey, and all those kind of fun things.
Oh
um,
yeah, totally get
Staff
that.
management journey. And
Absolutely. And I feel like I'm learning still. I've been doing this for 12 years.
mm,
And I feel like I am constantly learning. And I think I'm still making mistakes. And I say to my
yep.
staff at head office, I say, look, if you make a mistake, just put hands up and we
Mm,
learn from it and we move
yep.
on. And I
Mm,
want to build that culture
yep.
within the business as a whole, is that kind of transparency with all of us, and that
Mm,
because I think it's you don't want to work for a company that if you make a mistake, you're going to get told off by
yeah.
your
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah, and it's the learning thing. I absolutely, it's such a great, particularly musicians, because we're all learning, and I've had the ability to have insight into lots of different companies recently, and that whole idea of, you know, new people who come into a company, they don't know your culture, they don't know how you do things, they don't know the goodwill in which you work. And so there's a learning experience where people might not be open at the start, and then they move towards that openness because they see your goodwill and what you're trying to achieve. So that's cool. Now, often when we start talking about staff, the question comes up, and everyone I've spoken to in the UK at the moment, which is finding great staff.
Mm.
And and everyone's talking about the challenge in the industry at the moment to find those great staff as you work through things. So you got the Strings Club going in the early days, and how did you find those first staff back when you first started going in 2012?
Oh gosh, it just feels all a blur, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you think, how do I find? Well, I started off running the camps
Yes,
myself,
yes, yeah,
which I absolutely loved, and then I think I just started advertising on, the usual that we do in the UK, like Indeed, and
yep,
also just networks with the music hubs that I was working in.
yep,
Um, And I think, all in all, I'd say 99%, I've done a really good job
mm,
of hiring. And I think it's to do with, well, there's lots of things, as you know, it
mm,
can be to do with, but I think we do offer, like us as a company, what I want to do is offer that added value to people's lives. So it's not
yep,
just like working at a camp, and then that's it. So we do things like monthly wellbeing online sessions for
cool,
free.
yep,
So
yep,
people can come along. Um, and we do, with my head office as well, we do really, I love doing stuff like we have a personal project every quarter that I pay for them to do. So it could
yep,
be something to do with, even leadership or management if they wanted to, or it could
yep,
be something personal. So a few of my team have been doing like well-being or confidence courses and
yep,
anything.
cool,
And I think that's great.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of that thing that, look, as as we value you as a person here, and part of that is your personal development, and
Mm.
whether that's, say public speaking or confidence, or whether that's something more business orientated, at the end of the day, it's all going to contribute to what you do here, and how you, because especially back office, like I'm a little bit of a what would the word be, admin nerd. Like I love a good
I do. I love an Excel sheet. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. And I didn't know this about myself until I was at a kids conference in in the Gold Coast. That's right. So it was providers for providers to children and families, all kinds of groups. And so I was in the kind of suppliers hub at this conference, and next to me was like go-karting for kids, and then the next one was like um, uh, um, low-level skydiving. When you jump into the fan and you float, kind of thing. And then and there was this array of epic activities for kids, which obviously they were wanting to promote to the holiday camps and all that kind of thing. And then there was me in the corner with software, admin software. And I thought, and it dawned on me that I am now super passionate about administration software. Romo a lot more than just that,
Yeah.
but then it comes to that point when you understand yourself and you just own it,
Mm.
and it's
But
like, okay,
I think your value proposition is not the software. That's the
mm,
point that you just said. It's actually your purpose is in, making sure that it's easy for parents to book as well.
mm,
So I think that's what's
yep,
really great about Enroll My. And we only moved over to you probably about maybe 6 months to a year
mm,
ago. Is that it's really easy for parents to book
yep.
online, and so that's what you're doing. That's your purpose now, which is
Yeah,
it's great.
that's true. That is true. There's a greater purpose to it, without a doubt. And that kind of idea that a parent is scrolling through the children's newsletter at 11 p.m. at night, and they see that the Strings Club is operating at their school for the holidays, and they're like, "Yeah, Jimmy." I use Jimmy and Susan are my fictitious kids that I'm always, Jimmy and Susan should go to that, and then they just book them in, and away they go. So that's cool. So 2012, Strings Club gets up and going. You've got some staff, and I know when I started, the staff were, you know, locally connected. So we were able, just like you, to kind of get into the networks and then find some good bits and pieces, and people there. And then there comes a time when you start to scale, and it gets quite beyond your own networks and beyond your own things to do. So for you, when was that point when you really saw it starting to grow, and you're like, okay, this is really a thing?
To be honest with you, it's from the offset, really.
Yep.
I've always been, like I said earlier, I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur, shall I say. At university, I used to run an events company that I absolutely loved. Um, Even in primary school, I know this sounds, but I remember in primary school, I used to run we used to do races, and I used to make like little trophies. I know I remember I must have been about 8. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, um, So I think from the offset really, and I think what you said earlier about when you do scale up, you know, even like a little bit out of that vicinity, you've got to have your, like we said about admin, you know, you've got to have an operational model there ready to go, so that if something happened to you, you know, or when you get people in to work with you, you know what exactly you need to do in the run up to an event. So we had that on board from like within 6 months of what we've then trialed and tested it, because obviously it's there and we're still making mistakes, or we're changing, amending things. So I think that's really integral.
Yeah, yeah. And then part of that journey too is, you know, you've been part of some epic entrepreneurial women entrepreneur groups, and won the odd award in that space. So how did you kind of get into those groups and get started? Because one of the things I want to really highlight on this podcast is we want to make sure we talk to men and women involved in the industry, and really hear the stories from different angles and different thinkings, and which is amazing. And in the case of Amy, of course, you've been involved in some networks and you've had some success in those networks. So we'd like to tell us a bit about that and how that's really contributed to your growth.
Wow, yeah, good question. So first of all, I would say is that applying for awards in general is just really fantastic, not just for marketing, but also just like you said earlier, just to have that moment actually where you're like, wow, you know, I'm always, you know, busy. I love what I do, but this evening is giving me that time to really think about what we're doing. So I think that's really great. I'm a firm believer, a passionate advocate actually for female entrepreneurs. And I do feel like you just said that industry is quite kind of male, you know, orientated in a way. So for me in general, I love networking with other female entrepreneurs, service based, or it could be obviously all different ways as well. So I love, you know, when I've got a chance to attend kind of networking events and things like that, and just shouting out about other women on LinkedIn and things like that. I've started to do that recently as well, which is really amazing.
Yeah. And I think when you apply for an award as well, like you said, it's a chance to step back and go, oh, we have done some awesome things. You know, like
Yeah, and I would say if anyone's listening to this and they think, oh my God, I've only been running a year, like within a year, I applied for, there was an award called, it was with the Nectar. Nectar is like Sainsbury's, what's the word, credit kind of points. And I remember within a year, I applied for this it was Startup Business of the Year, and I won it. And it was absolutely amazing because I got to attend a roundtable event with Karen Brady of The Apprentice. And it was great because she then said, wow, you know, she was on GMTV, I think, live telly, and she was talking about the Strings Club and saying how amazing the concept was and how I'm going to, you know, it's going to do really well. And she was mentioning franchise opportunities will be the best option, not necessarily gone down that route, actually. But I think it's, I would say to anyone listening, just to go for it. Don't, you know, just get that application in.
Yeah. And the idea of the process of the application is as much a reward as the reward sometimes at the end, because of the reflection that you get to do during that time. So and like you say, like people that you meet on the awards journey are often people that really care about seeing local businesses and national businesses really thrive. And you know, there's sometimes, I don't know, sometimes there can be an attitude of these big people up the top, they're up there and they don't really care about the little guy. But literally all the people I've met on the journey all the way through have all been friendly and passionate and just really enjoyed what they've done, and all the people that they've met on the journey. So it's been cool. So it's cool to hear about that as well, which is awesome. So what's next for the Strings Club? So we've gone on a bit of journey from that beautiful island through to today, and the success Strings Club is over quite a wide region now. What's next?
So at the moment, it's really exciting. Like, and so I was offered a place on the Goldman Sachs 10K small business course with Said Business School, University of Oxford, and that is I'm just halfway through that, and it's mind-boggling.
Wow.
Because what they said at the beginning of the program, there's 74 other entrepreneurs in a room, which again is just great because we are a certain specimen of human being, I think. So, and what they say is, we're going to take your whole business apart. I'm going to put it back together. And I kind of didn't really know how they're going to do that. But at the moment, I do feel like the Strings Club, don't get me wrong, I still think it's fantastic. But I feel like I have so many fantastic, great ideas at the moment that are going to be part of our scale up plan.
Yeah.
So we're scaling up to a new area every quarter.
Yeah.
Again, with our Enroll My software and other software systems that we're using for efficiencies, we're really excited about that. And also we are potentially focusing on franchising again. So we have the limited company, then we have a franchise company as well.
Cool.
At the moment, we're only offering that to our teachers. So if a teacher moves, say, out of London or to another area, then we're offering them an opportunity. We've just trialed that and it's just been amazing. So that's another growth opportunity we're looking at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah. And the learning from the group that you're with as you're working through that over the next sort of while, have you found that valuable? You know, I've talked about a little bit of it, but valuable to kind of that, not just the day-to-day operations, but it's really the vision and the big strategy for making all that happen.
Oh, honestly, unbelievable. It almost feels like you should quit your job just to do this course, but I can't obviously, because that's, but I think one of the things I found, and again, I'd strongly recommend if there's a program in the local area, business program, to get on it, because it's not just what you learn and implement into your business. It's actually that sense of belonging. So we've got a small group of us that we've been assigned to a growth expert. And there's 5 of us from mostly London, Bristol, and Birmingham, myself living in Birmingham. And it's just amazing to have that kind of support of people and say, what do you think about this? And they're like, and they'll tell you straight, and that's what you need. So yeah, it's fantastic opportunity so far.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? And it's like sometimes everyone has a network of friends, and that network of friends is often involved in a variety of different things, and they don't know about your business, and some of them aren't involved in business. And so sometimes you have to go a bit wider, or you usually have to go a bit wider to find that kind of expertise that can really contribute to your personal development in that space. So yeah, that's amazing.
I still get people saying, do you have a website? I don't know. It's like, yeah, we're running it, so yeah.
What we might do is add at the bottom of this podcast, we'll add the link to that. So I'll get that link off you so other people can see the link to that organization and what they do, because you've spoken previously to today as well very highly of what that's been about, which has been awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Amy. Like the goal of these podcasts is just to talk through people's lives and how they got to where they are today, and what's in the future. And probably an enduring thing for me is just that the vista, or the view of learning violin in a school like where you were, and against the backdrop like that. It may be my propensity for loving bleak English police dramas might contribute to that. Which I know it seems strange for a person such as I that I would love such drama, but I do. So that's cool. Well, thank you, Amy. I really appreciate your time on the Breakfast Club podcast, and we look forward to sharing this with the world.
Thanks for your time. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you.